Set the intro. We are recording here, and we're going to play a little swamp. An FM WVFF Veterans for Freedom Radio in Cottageville, South Carolina. The Truth in Broadcasting Corporation. And we're here today with Superwoke News, the illustrious Elaine Greenwood, and we're listening to a little Swamp Justice Radio.
Jim, I'm not illustrious. Benchmark about 35 years ago. So I'm more like dimly lit is a better phrase. So how you doing, Jim? What's going on? Tell me everything. I understand you have a video that you just put on TikTok this morning that maybe we can talk about.
I did. So what does everybody seem to be talking about again in the United States?
Alex Murdaugh and Moselle.
Alex Murdaugh and Moselle. Who knows more about Alex Murdaugh besides maybe Jim and Dick? I'll give Jim and Dick and who's that other guy?
Philip
Baba.
Yeah,
and
our
their
buddy.
Investigator and all those people. Besides the defense, who knows more about Alex Murdaugh in this country?
I don't agree with this. You know more than the defense. In fact, I think you know more than the defense. I'd say you know the most by far, because unlike everybody else, you actually looked at what was presented at evidence at trial and then said, hey, that really doesn't make any sense. Then you went out and tried to replicate what the prosecution had said happened and realized, indeed, it does not make any sense. And then you actually, boots on the ground, interviewed relevant witnesses, not just anybody that would give you the quote or pick up the phone. You didn't just keep going back to Mark Tinsley and Eric Bland. You interviewed relevant witnesses and blew the lid off of the prosecution's case.
You know what I would do? I'd literally go up and knock on these people's doors. And then sometimes I knew they were home and they wouldn't answer because they'd see me. They were like, oh, I'm not talking to that guy. And then I'd leave them a book. I'd sign a book and I'd leave a book. And I'm like, here's what I want to do. Here's what I want to talk to you. You'd be amazed. It worked about 50% of the time.
Wow.
People would finally call and be like, oh, thanks for the book. I didn't know who you were. You were someone with a stupid media. And I was like, listen. Calling me a real United States journalist is probably an insult to me. I'm different. Let's put it that way.
Yes, you are. You are what our First Amendment meant to protect, and I think the American public gets it. Journalism today, the media today, they gaslight, they lie, and they're lazy. They just don't do the work they need to be doing. So tell me about this video from this morning.
Yeah, I think they're lazy. Just it's budget constraints. You know, I think travel. You know, you can't work on this story for 6 weeks, guy. You gotta move on. I need a story in a day, and you just can't develop a story in a day. It just doesn't happen.
That's true. Yeah.
So let me just see if I can figure this out. We are going to add a screen here, and I'm going to show you a TikTok. And tickety-tockety, here we go. Can you see that?
I can.
You can. Fantastic. Yeah, look at you. All right. Here we go. So just to tee this up for everybody who's playing from home and you're listening on the radio, what we're looking at here is a picture of Moselle and down at the dog kennels in the hangar. Now, I'm going to turn the volume down on this one because I start talking in my Crime and Cask voice, but I'm going to stop it. Okay, right here. And this little red arrow that everybody sees, it's hard to see, but you can see there's a, excuse me, there's a line right here. And that line is for a door. This is the door that Maggie Murdaugh came out of. It's the door that she went into.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
now,
Jim.
While we're looking at this door,
yeah,
I want you to look at that little doghouse that's right there.
Yes. I know the doghouse well. It's, I saw when the jury was allowed to go out to Moselle, after they had sat through weeks of testimony, they should have immediately recognized the doghouse, the feed room, that little
Right.
guinea hen cage. So I'm
Right.
watching one of these leading Wall Street Journal reporters who later wrote a book, and she and her little buddy who was filming her, they're looking at the doghouse. They have no idea what the structure was or why it was relevant to who killed Maggie.
Right.
It was so outrageous to me. They're experts, but they didn't even know something as simple as this, how important this doghouse is in establishing the trajectory of a bullet or
Yes.
several bullets.
Correct. And this doghouse is where the person who shot her stood.
Yeah.
Now, the reason that they stood here, that this video, I don't think this video shows you, but let's just move forward with it. So, and I said she's not many steps from there. So he's taken what, 2 steps out? Okay. This is kind of close. I think it rolls back in a second. There's a building over here, but if you keep going the other direction, that is the way back to the house, the main house.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason that this person was standing here at this particular doghouse was to be on the lookout, to look towards this guy that's standing here. By the way, that's not me, but towards the guy that's standing there, pointing the gun towards the hangar, because they're looking towards the house, because that's where, if Alec came back with the golf cart where they just saw him leave, where he would have come back from. So
Right.
he's standing there with a 300 blackout, looking towards the house. He is the lookout for the person who's shooting Paul right behind him at the dog kennels.
Yes.
So
They're
that's
also probably watching, because it's dark, they're watching Alex's progression up to the house too. But they would be there as a lookout if he was to come back, for sure. 100%.
okay. So then, let's see. I think I move out here in a little bit. Let's just go. Now what we're looking at for people at home, what we're looking at here is now the dog kennels. And then look at how fast he got there. That is how fast. There's Maggie's shooter at the doghouse. He was 5'4". There it is. Look at that. See the door? Yeah. See where that guy is?
Yeah.
He is the shooter is looking this direction, because where my little mouse hand is over here is the way to the main house. If Alec is coming back, he's coming back this way.
Yes.
Most people don't understand that. So now we're very close. This is where he's standing, and he can see the dog kennel. He can see the feed room door where the first shooter is standing there. And I'm going to show you here in a second. Whoops. Look at how quick he gets there. But there, whoops, that's kind of blurry. I think he goes back right. Hold on. I'm going to go back. I'm going to show you how close the woods are. Right there. Okay. See those woods right here?
Yes.
This is where they came from.
Yes.
They were. I mean, look into those woods. Can you see beyond the green? No, of course not.
No, I cannot. And then further on the other side of those woods is the road.
Yeah. Well, you keep going into those woods, and then over here to the right is where the cabin is. What's on that green cabin that's on the road. But if you keep going through there, you'll get into some clearing, and then you're walking right now. If you're walking this way, you're walking parallel with Moselle Road.
Okay.
Yeah. So now we established that the woods are very close. This person's walking into the feed room. You can see there's a projectile hole in the window. This is pointing where he was standing. Mm-hmm. And you can see where the window was shot out. Somebody asked a question to me. They're like, well, why was, in fact, she said there, the holes in the window, did they shoot 2 extra times and miss there? And I explained to this person that when you shoot a shotgun, even if you're shooting somebody at such close range, what happens is it comes out of the end of the barrel, and then it starts to expand, because it's made to shoot duck and turkey and things like that. So when you're shooting a duck from, I don't know, a good distance away, you're not going to hit it with one particular pellet. So they pack these pellets in with quite a few pellets, and then they do what's called a spray, and you're just
Yeah.
hoping that you get one or two that might hit it.
Yes. And so they
That's what
took out several panes.
that's what happened to this window.
Yes.
So from here, we can see this is the view that Paul had whenever the shooter number one pulled up and stood in the doorway and, yelled at him like, "You're not turning me into the police."
And maybe Paul said, "What are you doing with my gun?" And I think Paul recognized who his killer was.
Absolutely, he knew.
And I think
He
it's very
hunted with him. He fished with him. He got high with him. He drank with
absolutely.
him. Oh
And
yeah,
Paul felt confident that he was in charge of the situation. I don't think he realized that this person that had been his acquaintance, maybe friend, throughout his lifetime was about to kill him.
yeah,
And I think that was the last awareness Paul had, was we were friends. And I think Paul rightly thought he had the right to tell this person to give him back his gun and to get off his property. And it wasn't Alec, it wasn't his father.
yeah.
First of all, his father was too tall. But anyway,
Yeah, I did a video on that one time because Paul was 5'8", and I believe your buddy Dr. Kenny Kinsey um, established that the first pellets went into his sternum somewhere around 4'7", which would have been about 13 inches below his head. So not below his head, but below the top of his head. So basically in the middle of the chest is where the first one came in.
but it was in a slightly upward angle, even though it went across his chest. The trajectory was from a lower vantage point where the killer was to an upward angle. There is no way that, forgive me for, to anybody that's overweight, as am I, but at that, on June 7th of 2021, Alex Murdaugh was incredibly overweight. That
Yeah.
he had bad knees. He's withdrawing from and then getting back on his drugs. He's totally out of shape. There's no way he could bend down, make that shot, make two of those shots actually, and then race over in Olympic time to pump 5 rounds into his wife, whom he loved.
Yeah. Now here's the other thing that people don't understand. So I'm 6'1", and I think I wear a 30. Depends on the day and how much pizza I ate the night before, but usually wear a 34 waist, sometimes a 36, but the length is a 34 as well. So I'd wear a 34, 34. Anyway, so when I went to the the auction for all the Murdaugh stuff,
Yeah.
his clothes were there, and he had a lot of clothes, a lot of hunting clothes, a lot of pants. And I looked at his pants, and I want to say they were like a 45, 34, which meant
Yes.
he's very round. But
Yes.
here's the thing about Alec that most people don't really understand. And I went to the trial, so I saw him, and I noticed this there is that he and I have the same length. So as far as our legs go, we have the same length. So what makes him taller is his torso from his
Right.
waist up. And so when you're talking about shooting a gun angle like that, and you're putting it down by your waist, he has to go much further than most of us, than I would, to go to my waist. It just doesn't make sense. But he is very tall from the waist up. But he and I had the same inseam. I thought was interesting. We both wore 34 because I figured he'd wear, at least I think it was 4 inches taller, 3, 4 inches taller than me. He'd at least wear a 36 or 38 length, but no, he didn't. He wore the same length, which
But
is interesting. So it changes the direction of how this shooter was, which he was probably just under 6 foot tall.
Right.
Because I did also an investigation on that too, based off of the angles and where the gun had to be pointed, and you can tell right where you get to the sweet spot where the angle went in a slightly upward angle into Paul was about 5'11", because you don't shoot a shotgun uh, from your hip. You just don't. I don't care who you are. You don't.
You don't.
There's too much recoil to it. You don't have any control over it. It always goes under your shoulder.
So
Always.
we had diagrams and data records indicating the trajectory of those shots that were used by the prosecution at trial. Those were introduced, I think, in November or December before the trial. So media had all the time in the world to say, to familiarize themselves with those shots and what kind of person, what was the weight, the height, and the athleticism of the person that fired those shots.
Right.
And yet they sat there like, tits on a boar hog. And can I say can I say that? Let me not say that. But they sat
Jonathan will
there.
cut that out later.
I appreciate that. But they sat there limp. That's probably not getting any better. They just sat there and did not object to the prosecution's mischaracterization of, well, just the prosecution's insistence that it was Alec and only Alec who fired those two shots into his son, and then raced over and pumped 5 rounds into Maggie. Um, so journalists doing their job would have said, well, that isn't actually consistent with the evidence that the state had already produced for the defense months earlier. This was
Right.
a, to say, hey, okay, so let's keep going with your video, because
All right, so here's the dog kennels. Dogs are going crazy. There's Paul. Hey, there is the chicken coop.
yeah,
Remember the chicken?
yes,
Come on, bub, bub, come on, bub.
yeah. Bubba's got a chicken, yeah,
Maggie said, "What it was a
guinea hen,
he's got a guinea.
right?
It's a chicken. it's it's a chicken."
Well,
So Alec grabs the chicken out of
yeah,
Bubba's mouth and he puts it into that chicken coop right there. It's right next to the kennels. Right next to the kennel. And Alec has parked his golf cart right there.
yes,
This is the back side. They're showing the back of the feed room here with the window shut up.
yeah. Now, I
Now,
always
right
thought,
here is where Alec would have parked his golf cart, where that gravel road is right there.
yes,
So it would have been just a little bit in front. And then these arrows I have here are pointing to the direction of where the main house is. For everybody, and for you guys that are in the radio at home, I'm standing at the dog kennels. I'm facing the hangar, and it would be to my left as I'm pointing up towards that dog house that's right there. And somebody just pointed that way. Wasn't me.
have these
Right
structures,
there. There's the perfect view. That is the perfect view of the way that they would come to see the little gravel right there. And he'd come right up around that building right there and come right
yeah,
down and right there.
yes. Have these structures been removed? The kennels have been removed, right?
The kennels have been removed. The hangar's still there. I think it's painted white. You know what? I want to. Well,
Let's talk about the dog kennel and where the shooter was because of a bullet that went through the corner of the dog kennel. And didn't it also lodge itself or go through the the chicken roost box, whatever that was?
a shotgun shell or a 300 blackout.
300 blackout. The killer's standing by the dog house, not the dog kennel, but that little dog house.
Yeah, I'll
That's a
see if I
house.
can get a good video there.
Yeah, I think I just saw it a few minutes ago.
We're looking at the window again. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. So in this little hand I have right here, for those listening at the radio at home, I'm looking at the doghouse. So this is where second shooter is standing right here. He's on the lookout, looking for Alec to come back, Alec or Maggie to come back, because I don't think Maggie's there. He can't see her. And that door, she's inside that door. Like they didn't go in because they ran out of the woods so damn fast. All they were going to do is they hit there, shoot Paul, and leave.
Wow.
Until she jumped out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she comes running out. They were based off of the angle because there's a quail pen that's right here, where
Yes.
on the side of the hangar, and this quail pen had a couple of projectiles in it, as they say in the biz.
Worley talked about it a lot.
Yes, sled investigator
Worley, wasn't that her name?
Melinda Worley.
She was a
Who, by the
prosecution
way,
witness.
was
I think she
listening.
was embarrassed to be dragged into this scenario that they were presenting because it wasn't consistent with facts, and it had too many holes in it, basically.
By the way, those playing bingo at home, on your bingo card, you'll see that Melinda Worley said that it is possible that there were two shooters.
Yes.
And everybody's favorite investigator, Kenny Kinsey, also said he could not. He didn't say that there was two shooters. He said he couldn't eliminate the fact that there were two shooters. And there were other people that said it as well, not only the defense, but on the prosecution side. Two shooters.
And weren't you thinking when she said that, well, there you go. It's a motion for summary judgment. I want a directed verdict. This is reasonable doubt right here. We can end this trial right now. Their own witnesses just said they're two, and that
Dick was cross-examining her. And that was a big win for him right there. And you're right. He probably should have said it right there. That your buddy Judge Newman wouldn't have allowed that.
He would not. But I like the idea of preserving things like that for appeal. And anyway, that case is over.
Right.
The evidence we need to look at again and again and again. The strategy we don't need to keep looking at because I can't explain it or defend it. And I don't think you can. And I'm not even sure they can. I sincerely hope, on my bingo card is that they do a better job next time. Maybe it will take two trials for them to get it right.
Something just came to me as I'm looking at this angle right here. I'm picturing in my mind, as you know, I'm very right side brain now. So the right side of my brain is working overtime. I see everything in like 4K. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, why were they shooting wildly instead of just, the gun moving all over the place? What if it was Maggie that was moving? Like they all of a sudden she jumps out, they take a first shot, and she's like, oh my God, they're shooting at me. And then she tries to
well, Jim, this is how I reconstructed it.
Get out of the way.
No, wait, because
So they like, she moves, they move. You know what I mean? I don't know. It just came to me. Looking at this particular.
But I think what happened is she comes out of the building. They see her. They realize she recognizes them. They recognize that she recognizes them. They have to kill her. There's no way. They've just killed her son. They didn't intend to kill her. They got to kill her because she recognizes them. They drop her. They shoot her 5 times. But what they do, if you follow the way Kinsey described the bullets, and he has them out of order. Actually, not Kinsey, although he introduced this into evidence, but it's the way SLED or the prosecution had assembled the facts. There are 5 shots. The first shot drops her to her knees. The second shot drops her further down. The third shot, which is probably a kill shot, shoots her in the back of the head and goes through her body. And then she's shot basically from behind. It's kind of that shot that Curtis Edward Smith described when he's doing that polygraph test. They record him and he's talking about how he knows how Maggie was killed, and what he described in this video, with this hot mic video, is very similar to one of the shots. What the prosecution said was there were probably 2 shots that could have been the kill shot, and they're not sure which one.
He
But
wasn't talking to a guy named Patrick, was he? I'm kidding.
he's talking to the guy administering the polygraph. And I think that that is a guy that you have interviewed, seems to me. But I don't know that Curtis Edward Smith understood he was being recorded saying that. And it was introduced by the defense in a pretrial hearing, that video of Curtis talking about it. And there's a verbatim transcript of what Curtis Edward Smith says about how Maggie was killed. And I remember doing content about it then. This was months before the trial, saying, if it turns out that this is anything like how Maggie was killed, you have to ask yourself, why did Curtis Edward Smith know that I think it was in September of 2021? The public didn't know that. We did not know. After the murders, we did not know how Maggie died. And there was all kinds of speculation that she died running away. No, she didn't. She was shot. She was almost right in front of the guy that shot her, that killed her. And she wasn't running away. She was actually running to Paul. She was moving in. She'd heard the shots and she's moving in the direction of Paul. She's not running away from them. She's coming to them. So the public didn't know that. But for some odd reason, Curtis Edward Smith did know that. I'm not suggesting he was there, but I do think that he talked to people that were there. And I think there are two people in particular that I think the evidence suggests they were there. And I think there's evidence that he had an association with these people. But, as you've pointed out, what? Everybody down there is either dated or related.
That's a fact.
Yeah. But I don't think Curtis Edward Smith dated or is related to the killers of Paul and Maggie. But I think he knew what was going on. Don't you think it's odd that he has not served a day? What the heck? He wasn't even tried for his part in the wiretap. Yeah.
Nope.
All the financial crimes that he participated in, they're just being held in abeyance?
They got him on ice.
I guess they do. We got a lot of criminals. We got a lot of criminals in this country on ice that have done a lot of damage to our country. And they've just been held in abeyance now for 5 years? And Curtis is almost rivaling them, Anyway, so
and we all know that SLED has reopened the Stephen Smith case, and they did it during the investigation of the deaths of Paul and Maggie, correct?
Yes. Within weeks of, I think they reopened it on something like June 17th or June 20th. I mean, it was almost immediately after Paul and Maggie were killed. But we never knew why.
Let's listen to a little bit of I think we're going to find a little bit of insight here. This was, we're going to listen to, I'm going to take this off. Let's see. Make sure I don't think that. All right, we're back. We're going to add something else here. Make sure I don't disconnect you. There you are. We're going to share a screen. We're going to find this. Okay. This is a video of Buster Murdaugh in the SLED vehicle.
Buster, what do you think? What do you make of all this?
What do you mean, what do I make of all this?
When she says, what do you make of all this? This is a SLED agent talking to Buster Murdaugh days after the murders. And she is teeing this up to be Stephen Smith. Listen to what she has to say.
Of all this with your mom and your brother, do you think maybe someone was after your brother and your mom happened to be down there?
Oh, SLED was on top of that one.
Bingo.
Yeah.
I would say if I had to have a take, that's probably what it would be.
Yeah.
I think that someone was probably trying to kill my brother, and that my mom was probably just there.
Do you think that was because of the boat?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we've established now.
Wow.
That SLED says, do you think they were going after your brother and your mom just surprised him? Yes. Buster goes, yes, that's what I think happened. And she goes, do you think it has to do with the boat? And he's like, yeah, that's what I think it had to happen. Listen to what she ask Buster Murdaugh next.
And I'm sorry for asking that, but
Okay.
Y'all knew
I'm
them
sure
better
you thought
than
of little
anybody.
else. I mean, to some degree.
Watch Buster look here. He's going to look at the camera, I think.
Is there any other possibilities you've considered?
Any other
No, sir.
possibilities? Any other possibilities, Buster? The cops are playing him right now. The guy's writing something down.
I want to ask you about something, and I want to preface this by saying this is based purely on rumor.
Here it
It's not
comes.
something we're investigating as an agency, but
Here it
it's
comes.
the Smith family.
The Smith family.
You familiar with what I'm talking about? I am.
Buster's got to look at the camera here in a second.
The Smith family. The boy that
I
died
got
out.
it. I knew it is.
Has anything about that incident come into play in terms of threats, in terms of your thoughts on this incident, in terms of in any faction? Is there any part of that?
There he goes.
Rumors
There's
you've
the look.
heard, accusations, any threats you've had related to that?
What do you think of that? Superwoke news.
Wow. Do you think that they knew I think they knew all along who was responsible for the death of Stephen Smith. I think that's real clear. And
Well, if they didn't then, they do now.
well, they certainly do now. The only ones that don't are people that have a vested financial interest in still soliciting donations for a narrative that doesn't withstand any kind of scrutiny. But
But I get scrutinized and called a liar.
yeah, which I find outrageous. Of all the journalists in this country, or the pretend journalists, you're not on the list of people. Where are these critics calling out Dana Kennedy or Valerie Barling or anybody at Hulu or anybody involved in that monstrosity that Hulu is just produced and is airing, or Netflix, or where is their integrity and their journalistic outrage at going after this massive fake news? And not just about the Murdaughs, but pick a subject, whether it's the stolen election in 2020 or the J6, this idea of an insurrection, or that COVID shots are safe and effective. Where's their outrage? It's all over the place. But you know who they choose to be outraged about? People that are hitting at the truth, people that are telling the truth, people that are accurate and hovering over the target. And I am so sick of that. In fact, I'm kind of having a fight right now, a little DM thing with somebody that I like, actually. But I am so sick of this. Let's take pot shots at the one person who's courageous enough to accurately report this. Let's take pot shots at Jim. All of this, it amounts to gaslighting, and I'm tired of it, and we're paying too high a price for it. But I'm going to go back to this because the video, Paul says it, that yes, this is related to the boat brats, and yes, it's related to
Buster does, yeah.
Buster. I'm sorry, Buster does, and
Well, let's listen some more.
Is there anything you want to elaborate on that? I mean, has anyone ever questioned you about that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've read the articles and the rumors and saying that I've had people understand to think that that's what I did, and I've had people message me and stuff and call me a piece of shit and a murderer and a faggot and things like that. But I've never received a formal threat, and I haven't heard a lot about it in a while either.
It's pretty much died off.
I would say that, yes.
So at that point, Buster is referring it to himself,
yes,
not his brother.
Right.
They're referring to Stephen Smith as how it relates to the deaths of Paul and Maggie, and Buster just went in a different direction. Buster went in the direction of it's about me, and that was wrong. Let's see if they.
You say message you? I mean, it's like social media messaging, or
yeah, this would be Facebook, and Facebook. I think I got a couple off of Instagram as well.
Did you
Facebook
receive
is
any of
evil.
those kind of messages after the boat incident?
I did. Very similar. But again, never a formal threat.
Anyone you ever recognized?
No, sir. Never,
Yes.
never anybody that I knew who they were.
You know who they are.
Did you ever do any kind of looking to see if they were somebody who might have at least been, if nothing else, geographically able to carry out a threat or something like that?
Geographically able to pull out a threat. Gee, I wonder if
How did they
somebody
get away
lives
with
over.
asking questions like that? But
I wonder if they
I
live
wish
over on
Buster
Cross
would
Swamp
not have
Road.
said
4 minutes. 4 minutes
that it
from. I
wasn't
wonder
a
if they-
credible threat. Do
I
people
wonder if
understand a threat? A threat, somebody threatening your life isn't going to use statutory language to do it. They're going to use terminology that's personal between you and the person threatening you. Like if
So the
somebody
guy
says,
had asked geographically possible.
I
What he's
understand
asking is,
I was kind of referring to the way they're questioning him just before that. But I agree, geographically possible is
that
another
means,
way of,
do they live here?
yes,
Are they local?
do they live right? In fact, we could almost, hand out, right
Do they
now,
live on Cross Swamp Road? 4
right?
minutes away from Moselle?
Is their address XXX? Yeah,
6557.
law
Is he
enforcement
5'4"?
knew. So why the pivot to only Alec? Everything about this, when you go back and look at it, seems more than just incompetent. It's wrong, not just because of gross incompetence, but it almost seems intentional that they want to ignore what's real, ignore their best instincts about what's real, that it's tied to the boat brats, that it's tied to something else. They're not looking at Alec at this point. They're not asking Buster about Alec. They're asking Buster about a group of friends, a group of people that know each other well. And Buster's he's not connected, so he's not understanding what they're actually asking. And he's responding kind of naively in a way where it only relates to him, because I don't think he understands that Netflix is going to air what they call a documentary where they've hired people to play Buster and Paul.
Yep.
To walk through the woods in the dark with a baseball bat, implying that Buster and Paul killed Stephen Smith with a baseball bat, which is
So stupid.
totally not true. So Buster didn't know how vicious the gossip about him was.
He
And
wasn't
he's
connecting the dots.
not at all. No.
I have connected these dots. Let's see what he
That
said.
or
I
ever look
didn't.
into who it was? Or,
I didn't. I didn't take much away from it. I figured the people just saying stuff.
Have you saved any of that stuff? Screenshotted any of it? Or?
I haven't saved any of it. It might still be in the, in the far lowers of my messages. But
Would you
actually,
be
to be honest with you, I think I probably deleted some of it too because I just didn't enjoy looking at it.
Smart.
As we can, when we conclude here today, what I might ask as you go forward, as fun as it might be, is that maybe you go back and see what might be there, and maybe see about screenshotting that and providing it to us.
Now, this is where the sled agent screwed up, because the sled agent was on the right path. He knew, he just didn't ask the questions. He wanted Buster to answer the question. So he didn't ask a leading question so that he gave him the answer that he wanted. But in giving these vague questions, Buster just responded personally, as if it was him. So then this guy pivots and says, "Oh well, if you find any of these, for you, send them to us." Well, that's not what right there. They would have meant, "I want you to think about this, Buster. I want you to think about who could have been responsible for Smith and how it relates to your brother. Can you come up with that?"
Yes.
That is the better line of questioning right there. Than give me some of your Instagram posts where people were complaining. Like the guys that did Smith are not going to go on Instagram and Facebook and harass Buster.
No, they're going to harass Paul. You're right.
Well, and they're not going to do that online either. They live 15 minutes away from them. I saw them all the time.
Right. And people that engage in this kind of behavior aren't entirely stupid, and they're probably going to put some effort into not leaving a specific trail of evidence that they're the killer, you know. But the questioning was inept and stupid. I hate to say it, but it was inept and stupid. And it not only didn't lead to anything useful from Buster, but it sort of confused law enforcement as much as it. Buster must have walked away thinking, what the hell? You know, what useful evidence did they get from this line of questioning? I think the takeaway here is we don't pay enough. We don't pay law enforcement enough. We don't attract the level of intellect that we need to accurately solve crimes. When you have stupid people asking stupid questions, you get stupid results.
Well, I love the saying. It's, play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Yeah, there's all kinds, yeah. But this is outrageous given that they think they're closing in on Alec, and it's just, none of it makes sense. But anyway, you've now gone back to your website. What are you looking at?
Well, now I'm looking at the phone data. So, the prosecution was, listen, Creighton Waters in his opening statement, was waving his phone around. This is going to prove to you a lot of things.
Right.
You are damn right it is, buddy. But you didn't say the things that it actually did prove. You just kind of bypassed over that. The prosecution didn't even touch it. And, and I met with Jim and Dick and I told them this and they were like, no, I thought we covered that. I'm like, no, you didn't. And here's what we're going to talk about is that the prosecution is saying that Alex had his telephone. And remember Agent Radulski doing the step data?
Yes.
And, well, you're walking around a lot, Mr. Murdaugh. What are you walking so fast for? And he was like, I don't know. I went and got a dip. I went to the bathroom. I went to the kitchen. I don't know what I was doing. So at the same time, according to the prosecution, at the same time, Alec has Maggie's phone. Now, he didn't, but this is what the prosecution said.
The hole in that theory you blow out, you can drive a train through, is the phones weren't recording the same data. If Alec has both of them, the steps would be the same. The movement of both phones.
Oh, you hit the nail right on the head, huh? Maggie's phone recorded movements and orientation changes after Alex left the crime scene. That means someone else other than Alex Murdaugh had possession of her phone.
Absolutely.
Because her phone was making movements and then his started lighting up at what is it, 902 or something like that. And Maggie's phone recorded an attempted facial recognition unlock after the murders occurred, again suggesting someone else was attempting to access her device. And Alec already knew her passcode, so why would he not try to get into it if he's trying to find out, what she did? Maybe she called somebody. Maybe she was on Facebook Live. Who knows? He knew her passcode. Just put it in. But here's what's important. Is at I don't have it in this particular one, do I? Let's see. But it starts at 9:05:44. I don't think I have it in this particular one. But at 9:05:44 is the time that her phone lit up. And what happens, for those in video, I'm picking up my phone and you can see when I picked it up, the backlight just came on.
Yes.
And so when you pick up your phone, that's what happens. And at 9:05:44, that's exactly what happened to Maggie's phone. The backlight picked up as if someone picked up her phone. And then from there, it stopped recording steps. And according to Apple, there's only two reasons your phone does not record steps. Number one, you're not walking. My phone right now is not recording steps. It's sitting on my desk. Or number two is you're in a vehicle, in a moving vehicle of some sort. So they 9:05:44. Now this is very important because at 9:06:20 her phone stops moving, and the distance between 9:05:44 and 90620. And this is what Jim and Dick did not know. And this is the way I broke it down to them. I said, how many seconds is that? And they're like, I don't know, just tell me. I said, it's 36 seconds. I said, so here's what's important. During that 36 seconds, at 9:05, excuse me, 90, let's see, it was 9:06. I wish I had it here in front of me. At 9:06, I think it was 14, 9:06:14, Alec called.
Yeah.
And he hung up right away. He called Maggie and he hung up. And the reason he said he hung up on the stand when he was cross-examined is he said, oh, I thought I heard Paul's vehicle coming up. He said, then I realized it wasn't them. So I called back again. So at 9:06:14, he makes a call, hangs up. 9:06:16, he calls right back. So it was only 2 seconds. He hung up and he's like, oh, that's not them. And he called right back. And then her phone makes an orientation change from landscape to portrait. Now, mind you, those 283 steps that Creighton Waters is like, oh, you're taking a lot of steps. Her phone would also be recording those steps.
Right.
But her phone is not recording steps, and his phone is. But her phone also made the backlight came in at 9:05:44. So just seconds earlier, her phone was recording things, but not steps. And his, according to the prosecution, 283 steps was. So someone explained to me, like I'm a third grader, how in the world, when her phone had been recording steps all day long, suddenly at 9:06:44, when he's still walking, hers is not recording steps. I'll go ahead and wait for the response.
Yes, wait for the response.
I wonder if Hulu covered that.
I doubt it, but I don't care to look. But
dummies.
So if Alec did not have both phones for sure, the killers, plural, two, had Maggie's phone. So
yeah. So here's the important part.
Though that in 2025, what in October of 20 was it September or October of 2025? Dick and Jim don't remember that they never covered this at trial. Is sort of, to me, it's ineffective assistance of counsel. It just is. It's not just oops, a mistake. It's a pivotal. It's exculpatory evidence. It's not trivial evidence. It's evidence that Alec cannot be the murderer, that somebody that has Maggie's phone, these people that have her phone, are the murderers. So it was huge evidence to just oops, and to say, just a month or so ago, gee, didn't we mention that at trial? No, you idiots, you didn't.
No, they didn't. I said, no, you didn't. And so here's what's interesting. And I'm going to try to pull this up for you so you can see a map on it for those watching, but those not watching at home, listening, I will try to look at my Google Maps knows that. Let's see, is that Godly Farms Road there? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to switch over to a different share a screen. 4147 Moselle Road. By the way,
yes, yeah.
For those playing at home, 4147 Moselle Road is the mailing address. And when I'm circling the main house right here, that address is not 4147 Moselle Road.
Right.
The hangar is actually 4147 Moselle Road. That's where Maggie got all the packages, all the Amazon packages, all the UPS, all this. Everything came there. So that's why she was in the...
I think even Alex's drug deliveries came there.
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
All right. So this here is Godly Farms Road. This is Godly Farm right here. This is Godly Farm Road. Her phone was found right about here at the edge. Okay.
Yep.
So I'm right before Godly Farm Road. There's still a forest here. So the distance between the back entrance of Moselle Road and right here And old Jim Cask here went out and drove that and got in my truck and drove. And I get over here and it would take me 30 seconds. 30 seconds. And I told Jim and Dick, and I said, in the distance between this back hangar right here, see where that road comes in right here? Goes
Yes.
around that
Yes.
back hangar. I said, that distance coming from here to there takes 6 seconds.
Yes.
I said, now, how much is 30 plus 6? And they're like, 36. I'm like, and how much time between 9:05:44 and 9:06:20? 36.
And so they said, duh.
They sat there stunned. I was like, guys, the real killers picked up her phone, jumped into a truck, got out on the Moselle Road in 6 seconds, drove 30 seconds down Moselle Road in the time. And if you look, so here's the main house. Here's where Alec is standing out in front of the main house.
Yes.
So at 9:06, I don't know what it was. He thought 14. They were coming right here at 9:06:14. They were already past. So he's like, oh, well, that's not them. 9:06:16, he calls back. At 9:06:20, they're right here. Whoops. 9:06:20, they're right. Get rid of this phone.
Right.
That's not very far. I can measure that. Measure the distance. It's 500 feet.
So,
Well, actually, no, it's 900 feet, but it doesn't take long at 55, 60 miles an hour to go 900 feet. Just a few seconds. Math. It's called math.
it's called math. I agree. It's called math.
Math and physics.
And physics.
That's it.
But it's also going out and walking the scene and doing it. And as much as I am critical of journalists who didn't bother to do this, it sounds like Jim and Dick didn't do it either.
Well, they know now.
Yeah, but are you kind of surprised that they're kind of laying low about this? I know Dick had a book that he just published that I'm guessing did not do as well as he expected. And so I know that
yet. I think it comes out in December. I think he's still promoting it.
Oh, for goodness sakes. Okay, so what I'm thinking is he delaying talking about this because he wants to focus on his book? Because Dick, I'm going to give you a big heads up. Nobody cares about your book. I'm sorry, but it has no chance. You're going to have to give it away as Christmas gifts for all eternity. It's just there's no market for it. And, Alec is facing this tsunami of baloney. He's pushing a rock up a real steep hill to undo the damage that this horrible narrative has done worldwide. So it seems to me that Dick and Jim ought to be using all of their little energy to promote this.
Well, here's the latest. I'll show you this screenshot here. This is the latest video they just posted. I got to turn it up.
A witness, juror, a lawyer did. Is there anything that shocked you during the trial? Something a witness, juror, a lawyer did? Aside from the Becky stuff.
I'm going to give you a little credit here. Your cross-examination of David Owens was some of the best I've ever seen. You had it, and I know people that see it and go, "Oh, that was great." They don't.
By the way, for those who are listening to the radio, there's a bottle of Blanton's bourbon sitting on the table here next to their coffee cups. I absolutely love that about these guys. Blanton's, love it.
They don't know the days and nights you spent getting ready for that. I watched that process, and you executed beautifully. He admitted he
And the coffee cup says, even my haters have haters. This is true.
perjured himself in front of the grand jury. He admitted that he wasn't aware that the so-called blood spatter on Alex's shirt wasn't human blood until 60 days before trial. I mean, all kinds of admissions by him. And of course, we find out after the trial he's named SLED's law enforcement officer of the year. I mean, it's
and people who would watch the trial on court TV or wherever they got their viewing of the trial. I mean, we couldn't because it didn't come into evidence, this whole blood spatter thing. And we read, leading into it, it was leaked to the media that Alec had blood spatter on his shirt, which means he was in close proximity to the shooting of Paul.
Yeah. Who leaked that to the media?
And therefore he was down there because of that. And we totally debunked that during pretrial by the state's own evidence. And they abandoned it. And it really did. That's something that didn't come out during the trial because we got it excluded. Is there anything that
Dick, Jim, stop this for a second.
Yeah.
I'm critical of this. So they did what Jim is saying there is true. They were aware that the state's expert, that guy from Oklahoma, what was his name? Tom Bevel. Was going to testify, and that Tom did not know about the hemotrace test and the results of it, that SLED, had done this test and had it in their possession, which said there's no human blood on Alex Murdaugh's shirt. So as a strategy, you're the defense, and you know that the prosecution is going to put this witness from Oklahoma on that you can shred on the stand. Right. Because of his testimony in other famous cases, because he's an incompetent boob, because he's not really an expert, and because the prosecution withheld critical evidence from him and then visited him. You had David Owen go out and visit him, and apparently the guy is operating out of his garage. That's his lab, and he's no more credible as an expert than the guy the prosecution produced through his phone around the room. But anyway, so you've got all of this. Why don't you wait till you can't make it up? But why don't you wait till trial, till Tom Bevel? What was his name? Bevel. Okay, till he's on the stand and then torpedo him. Instead, what was the strategy in saying, let's torpedo him before the trial? And now they're sitting there saying, gee, prosecution never brought it up. We never got a chance to. Of course not, because you played your hand. We had to all play poker with Dick and Jim because they'd be telling you what's in their hand. That's what they did.
You just got an applause. Did you hear that?
Oh, I love an applause. I'm glad. Okay, but I just, what was the strategy there?
I don't know, but that you make a good point on that. That's they could have destroyed that, but I guess you take the chance of somehow the jury reading into it the wrong way. I guess maybe that was it.
Instead, they had this brilliant strategy where I don't know if they've noticed, but their client was convicted.
Yeah.
Okay, so
the jury was tampered with. But, okay.
That's true, but the other one is they knew that there was the tape of the dog at the kennel. They knew that the prosecution had this tape. They knew it before the trial started. Why didn't, in the opening statement, why didn't Dick say, by the way, the public was misinformed about whether or not Alec was at the kennel that night? Now, Alec didn't give interviews. He did not give media interviews. So you cannot accurately say Alex Murdaugh denied in public that he was at the kennel. He never gave interviews at all.
And but I've seen video of Attorney General Alan Wilson talking about the moment that they cracked into Paul's phone, and he acts like he was just dealt a royal flush playing cards. Oh, we got him now. I'm like, what do you have? You have him at the scene 5 minutes, 6 minutes before it happened. I said he got in a golf cart and left.
And guess what? For every murder, there is 5 minutes before it happened. Any murder, anywhere, anytime, there's facts, there's things, events that happened 6 minutes before. That doesn't mean that those events are related to the murder or the cause of the murder or anything else. So it wasn't a smoking bomb, except that Dick and Jim's strategy or lack of strategy made it a smoking bomb. But it wasn't. And actually, it was Jim who says, what was he on, Dateline or Good Morning America? Or God only knows. He says, not Alec. He says that Alec was asleep on the couch at the time that Paul and Maggie were killed.
Well, he was repeating what his client said. But yeah.
He should have shut his mouth. I'm sorry, but, criminal defense 101, shut up.
Yeah.
2 words, shut up. But maybe that's what Alex said. Maybe it isn't what Alex said. I don't trust that Jim is a whole lot sharper than a shovel. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Well, here's I'll give him a little bit more credit, because I think, they had the state of South Carolina and the Attorney General and any resource and any amount of money they wanted to go after this guy. I mean, it just was simple as that. And then you've got, this group of maybe 5 attorneys, not even 5 attorneys, 3 attorneys and a PI and a paralegal, and they went after it. I mean, that it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot. Plus, they had to, practice.
It always is.
It's just a lot. They needed more people on that team, but
that's true of any prosecution. The state has immense power. It has subpoena power. It has unlimited resources.
I mean, a 6-week trial. When's the last time you heard of a 6-week trial?
Well, I'm waiting.
They don't happen very often.
Wait a minute. I've been waiting.
No, I mean the whole time, 6 weeks.
But I probably, if I thought about it, I could probably come up with one. But in any capital case, anytime you're being victimized by the state, anytime
usually they're about a week or so.
Well, there shouldn't be. In a capital case, I'd be real critical of something that only lasted a week. But you're right, it can. But the state always has enormous power. It has coercive power that the defense doesn't have. So that's always true. So Dick and Jim knew that going in. They knew the job was dangerous when they took it. Buck. Yeah. So I'm not cutting them any slack on that. And these guys, they claim to be these expert, incredible defense attorneys. If in fact that's true, we are really screwed. Innocent people are really screwed. That's the best I can say.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of.
So let's wrap this up today. What do you think we accomplished today?
I think people need to see and talk about what happened. And I think we could talk about this a couple more times so that, I have some video you may not have. I didn't realize this, but I have some video of the hangar and the dog kennel and the little dog house. And since those buildings have either been altered or removed completely, that video we have is going to be more and more valuable as we approach a second trial. So I think it is important that we discuss it. There are people that sort of doggedly say, no, I know Alec did it, although it's kind of like people at that No Kings rally. They know they hate Trump, but they have no idea why. There are people that know Alec did it, but they can't articulately discuss any evidence. And if you confront them with facts, they then want to terminate the conversation because they've decided he did it, and they're not going to be persuaded by reality or facts or whatever. So, so I think we can keep talking about it because I think it helps people visualize it. And changing opinions is a very difficult thing to do. And without question, there are millions of people who they bought into the narrative because they didn't realize they were being manipulated. I bought into the narrative because I had no idea that Fitz News and Mandy Matney and Liz Farrell and Mark Tinsley and Eric Bland had an agenda. I didn't know that. And so the stories were convincing.
Say they didn't. Justice was our agenda.
No, they had millions and millions of dollars at stake in civil lawsuits. No, they had a financial agenda. Tinsley and Bland should never have been within 1,000 feet of the prosecution of Alex Murdaugh. And you know what I did, Jim, which I should send you? I was going through my phone and I found an email. It's a link to a video of Mark Tinsley at a pretrial hearing in the Boat Brat case. It's 2021 CP 2500-111 case. It's a hearing before Hill on a motion. It's a motion, I think, for reconsideration of Hill's order to sever the defendants in the Boat Brat case. And just listening, I don't want to have it filtered through Fitz News or Mandy Matney or Liz Farrell or anybody. Just listen to Mark Tinsley, the way he addresses the court, the precedent he cites, and his legal reasoning. And you got to be thinking, how does this guy get away with How does he still have a law license? How does he practice law? Because even the defense is like, they're just sort of stunned. Like, these cases aren't on point. What the heck? And he's just produced them. So, I don't know. You know,
you ever watch the Academy Awards and then the guy's speaking and all of a sudden the music starts playing?
Are you playing me off?
We got to go wrap this show up. I hope you enjoyed it. We're on 97.7 FM, WVFF, Veterans for Freedom Radio. By the way, I'm not a veteran, never been one. Come from a Gold Star family, though. But this radio station is Veterans for Freedom Radio and the Truth in Broadcasting Corporation. We have had a wonderful time today with the illustrious Elaine Greenwood from Superwoke News. Check her out on X. You know, all my books are on Amazon. Just go to Crime and Cask. If you want to read any of this, go to crimeandcask.com and listen back. And we're everywhere. We're on Facebook. We're on Spotify now. YouTube, not only on 97.7. We're everywhere. So check us out. And Elaine, thank you very much. We will see you later. Crime and Cask out.
Bye-bye.